the All of the Above podcast with 3 Seeds Mentoring Group.
Welcome to 3 Seeds Mentoring Group. This is our career corner, and we give career advice and we give other advice with professionals about how to make it on a day-to-day basis, dealing with problems, overcoming solutions and strategies that you can use. So who do we have the pleasure of speaking with today?
Hi, Jason. It's Dr. Mike McCosey. I'm the owner of Hope With Me. I'm a psychologist. We're a psychology practice. We love helping people master stress and anxiety.
What do you suggest if someone is looking for a therapist? Because you said your first one you had did not work for you.
Yeah.
Then the second one did work.
Yeah.
So people who are thinking about getting a therapist, what should they look for a good fit from your perspective?
Yeah. I mean, so I'm going to answer it from this way. If I was looking for a therapist right now, right? I would want them to be able to tell me what forms of therapy do they use?
Okay.
And how, what's their plan? What's their idea to help me get better? Because, oftentimes as a therapist, I'll ask the client what's their goal, but I want the therapist to be able to kind of talk about too, what's their goals for working together?
On the first meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because here's the thing, right? I mean, therapy is more than, it should be more than a person just sitting in that chair listening, right? I mean, being listened to is really important. But if that's all the therapy is, it really decreases the odds that change is going to happen. So I want a therapist who's able to explain to me sort of an understanding of human behavior, an understanding of how the mind works, an understanding of why we do what we do.
Oh, okay. So know to ask those right questions, then you can get the right responses.
Correct.
And do you, I know with therapists, it's supposed to be confidential. How do people know, should they trust Google reviews or Yelp or social media?
Yeah.
Because it's a different field, right?
Tough.
So how do you check the reviews for a therapist?
I mean, there usually aren't many. So if you look at our site, like Hope With Me, most of our Google reviews are actually from me doing keynote speeches.
Okay.
Right. So I can get Google reviews for that, right? But yeah, you really it's challenging and tricky and could violate confidentiality to be asking clients for hey,
it's
will
crazy,
you review me, right?
And that's why I think when people are out there, they're looking at views on social media or likes or shares, and it's not about this person here, they don't have no reviews, website basic,
right.
Because what you guys do is not about glitz and glamour, all these bells and whistles.
Right.
It's about helping people, but they can't come back and say, hey, this person helped me.
Correct.
I was losing it.
Right.
So
you rarely get you get some word of mouth referrals, right? But I mean, the fact of the matter is people are still hesitant to talk about that they're in therapy.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, it makes sort of that business side different. So I mean, to answer your question, I think I would call the therapist.
Call them.
I want to talk to them, right? I want to have a 10 or 15 minute conversation so I can figure out, is this somebody that I can trust? And as I was talking about earlier, is this somebody who seems to have a sense of actually what's going on, and can they really help me? Yeah,
and then you look at it too, you're only one person. So on the average, how many patients does a therapist have in a week?
So I will be about 25. Right. So you're looking at about 20 to 25.
So so that's something to ask too. Should you ask how many people are you currently seeing?
Sure.
It's like a date, right? Sure. So if you ask that, then it's if the person says 40, do they have capacity for you, or what do you think?
Yeah.
That's a little too high, you think?
That would be a lot. I mean, some can do it. I mean, I think that would be a lot probably to now. There's a difference between how many are in their caseload and how many they're seeing, because my caseload is more than 25, because some people I might only see once a month.
How many you actually seeing a week?
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could be a helpful question, and I don't think a therapist would hesitate to answer that. Yeah.
And I got one more. I thought about it just now.
That's good.
This last one I thought about. So when I think about therapy and students and adults that I know, what is the suggested frequency? Because I've heard once a week is healthy. I've heard, like you say, every other week, once a month. If you went to therapy every day? Is that obsessive? Is that ever prescribed? What do you think as far as frequency?
I think that'd be too much. So I would say I typically talk to people about starting weekly.
Once a week?
Yeah.
Now, how long in that session?
An hour.
An hour's
60
enough?
minutes. Yep, an hour's enough.
Okay. Can they request 2 hours? That's too much.
That's probably too much.
Too much, okay.
In terms of just availability and things. And honestly, insurance is probably, would probably...
Because they only do an hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I can only imagine if they meet you, it's so much they want to get off their chest. They're like, my time is up.
It goes quick.
And you're like, see you next week.
Right. I mean, that's sort of unique too about therapy, right? Somebody's like sharing things and it's like, hold that thought. Right?
Yeah.
So starting weekly, I mean, again, it depends on the person, but I think, after maybe 5-10 sessions, you might be able to look at every other week. And depending on the person, right? Some people they're good with that and some like to continue just to have a check-in. Like I would like to get to a place where we could have wellness visits.
Wellness visits. What's that? Describe that.
So, your primary care physician, right? Like you go once a year, right? You go once a year, you do your blood work, just, how's everything going, making sure everything's okay. Like I would like, I'd be interested in creating something like that for our field, for psychology, right? Where you do a quick little, a couple questionnaires, 15 minutes, you meet with somebody, what's going on? Here's a couple ideas that this could be helpful to deal with stress. If they want to pick up therapy, great. Do a little coaching, great. If not, that's great too. Because I think it's still challenging to step into therapy.
Yeah, and I think that would be a good idea. And I was thinking with the newer generation with texting. I don't know if that's in this field, but sometimes I think if a person's having bad thoughts, and they're able to text a therapist they trust, hey, and they're and they can kind of calm them down via text.
Yeah.
I think that might help because when you're looking at generationally, they're more likely to text than to talk.
Sure.
Now, they might talk with you on Monday, but they have a bad thought Thursday or Friday, and they have no other safe space to get advice from.
Sure.
And I think with those lines, people don't really understand, you're my person, you're telling me all this great stuff, but my life is in shambles. And I don't know if I'm going to be alive next week. It could be that level. So between now and our next session, if I have an issue, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things with therapy, because once they finally build that with you, they latch on. And then it's what do we do for those people who have years of build up, who need a person? And then I'm telling them once a week, what are we supposed to do? Just not with you, just in general. What do we do in those scenarios?
Yeah. I mean, that is part of the challenge, right? And I mean, honestly, that's one of the challenging aspects of being a therapist. You asked earlier, what skills does therapists need to have? And I think one is being able to kind of be okay with uncertainty, which I do not like at all.
Oh, okay. Yeah. With that law background.
So it's that's, I'm trying to work on that myself, but it is tough, right? Because, people are experiencing, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain. And, once a week there's 6 days in between those sessions, right? 7 days in between those sessions. I mean, I think as a therapist, pretty quickly you're trying to help build some skills for the person so they have some things they can go to.
So building skills.
Yeah.
So we talk about the beginning with those goals.
Yeah.
If the beginning, it's I first of all, I'm not going to be here every day.
Yeah.
We're going to build some stuff, but I'm going to empower you with tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
So setting an expectation, then it's that's key.
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll come back to that because one thing I want to say too, that the other cool thing where you start to see more resources develop, right? So there's things called living rooms where these are oftentimes 24/7 where a person can call or they can go to. It's not an ER. There's people there who've lived experience with mental health, and you can go for an hour. You can go for 2 hours. You can just go
living room.
Living room. You can just go to relax, right?
Really? So, where is that?
There's one in Orland Park. Trinity Services operates.
You just walk in.
Walk in. Yeah. Don't need
no insurance, no nothing.
It's free.
Really? I should just go check it out just to see what it's like.
Yeah. I could Petty Johnson's the director of it. I can connect you with that.
Yeah,
but I think that's
that
a
could
great
be
resource.
a good resource for people who want to try it out.
Exactly.
And then they have the ability there to refer them to other places, right?
Correct.
The living room.
Yeah.
What do you? Could they need more of those?
Yeah. Well, Who
funds those?
The state.
Oh yeah,
the state.
Get 10 more.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right.
They're paying for it. Why not?
That's right. So I mean, but in terms of what we're trying to do individually, like, you know, what I'm really trying to help people develop are skills like called mindfulness skills or what we call willingness skills, where instead of working so hard to try to push away negative thoughts or feelings, which is our initial go-to, that makes it worse. So really kind of...
So pushing away negative feelings makes it worse?
Yeah.
Man, you blowing my mind,
Watch
man.
it. So if I said to you, don't think about chocolate cake.
I'm probably going to think about it.
Right, exactly, right? So if I said to you, don't feel anxious, we've actually just increased the likelihood that I'm feeling anxious. And so what ends up happening is we're doing all these different things of trying not to feel these things, which just makes it worse. So we're trying to develop skills instead of fighting with ourselves, fighting with our experience. You know what? I can experience this.
And it's okay.
And it's okay, because most of the suffering, everybody, but especially kids, right? If they're doing things like, you know, maybe self-injury or substance or whatever, it's an effort to push away the discomfort. If we can learn how to make room and kind of lean into that discomfort, now we don't got to go to those things. And now we actually have the freedom to do things that we actually care about. We start doing more what we care about. We build momentum. And then that anxiety and that depression, it's not that it's gone, but now it just has less control over me. So we're really working to like develop those sorts of skills. And so that's what I mean. Like that's what I want. That's what I want if I'm looking for a therapist, somebody who's going to help me build these skills. So we're not just listening where we feel that support that's important, but who's going to help me, give me something that I can take with those other 6 days.
So tell me this, if somebody was watching this and they want to ask you questions, or they want to, do you take emails? Are you on social media? How can someone follow up with you to ask a question or set up something? What do they do?
Yeah.
Because this is good information.
Real at the beginning of social media. So I make, build on that platform. I mean, right now I'd say, email, give me a call.
Email is the best bet?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put the email at the end of the video if you guys have a question, comment.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this might be their first introduction with someone.
Yeah.
And they're seeing it, and you might say something that sticks, they might have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
But like being able to say, hey, this is a therapist that I know is really good, and he wants to give information to people.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you be open to doing a weekly show?
Sure.
You would?
I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're giving tips. And if they have stuff, I'll say, Dr. Mike, here's the question.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Absolutely.
And then that way that's there. And then if someone needs further, they can sit down.
Yeah. Because, that's the thing I'd always say. Like, this wouldn't be in the place, of therapy. And,
it's
sometimes.
just getting the conversations going.
But to be able to have conversation, talk about these things. Honestly, one of the things I'm passionate about is especially as we're more anxious and more stressed is talking about this, because as I was just saying, I think we've learned unhelpful ways of thinking about this. I think we have created this idea that anxiety, stress, and depression are enemies, and they're bad, and they're wrong. And as somebody who has experienced the depths of anxiety, like it is painful and it is challenging. But if it is also an enemy, man, what an uphill battle that is. So I think we need to get to a place where like we can talk about this and recognize it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong or that you're broken or anything like that. It just, it means that this really intense experience is showing up. And there's people who can help us not have to fight that and learn ways of responding to it, so that I can be a person who has experiencing this, but it no longer defines me.